Hello, my name is Marcel Steenhoek. I have been working in the oil, gas, and petrochemical industry for almost 40 years now. My main focus has been on industrial safety. I would like to share an important question with you. As someone working as a colleague in our sector, how can you be sure that your asset is truly operating safely? Let's simplify this question a bit further. Imagine that your organization is an airline company and your plant is a passenger airplane. Would you board that airplane? To put it even more simply, would you choose this airplane to go on your next vacation with your family? We work in a sector with many risks, and when things go wrong, there are really very serious consequences. People can get seriously injured or even lose their lives. Major environmental disasters can occur, and it is well known that such large-scale accidents can cost billions of dollars, drive companies into bankruptcy, and even result in the revocation of operating licenses. And I can already hear you saying, "Yes, Marcel, but these incidents are very rare and have never happened to us." But let's be honest, the risks are increasing and things are not getting any easier. Our industry is facing greater demands from regulatory bodies, shareholder expectations are rising, and the communities and societies in which we operate are becoming less and less tolerant of these risks. That's why we need to take our work even more seriously. What do I mean by this? Often when I talk to inspectors and management, they say things like this. "Yes, Marcel, we already know all of this, and that's why we take safety very seriously." In fact, we do a lot, and it's our top priority. Of course, it's good to hear this, but when you dig a little deeper, a question arises. In reality, what kind of work are they actually doing? Besides paying attention to personal safety, are we also working on process safety? And in general, what is the difference between these two? Let me first explain what I mean by personal safety and process safety and how they differ from each other. The industry has been falling into this trap for a long time. This was later proven by the major process safety accident that occurred at the Texas City oil refinery 15 years ago, and then by the Macondo incident. Independent incident investigations showed that these organizations paid great attention to personal safety, but process safety seemed to have been forgotten. Most companies were mainly focused on occupational health and personal safety, but they had done almost nothing to manage the process safety system. They were unable to manage these risks at the necessary level, or they did not know how to do it properly. Because of this, So first let me explain what I mean by personal safety and process safety, and how they differ from each other. Personal safety and process safety. What do I mean by this? Where do they differ? If you are concerned about safety and think about hazards in this way, falling objects, confined spaces, moving objects or vehicles, the risk of being struck or slipping, incidents like tripping and falling, then you are most likely working on personal safety. If you are thinking about incidents like leaks, corrosion or fire and explosions, then you are most likely dealing with process safety. We can compare these to a lion and a tiger. Personal safety represents the lion. They hunt in groups. They are visible. You can see and hear them. They move in packs and are quite widespread in their environment. Of course, they kill. It is never possible to fully domesticate them. They can never be left unsupervised and always require vigilance. In comparison, process safety is more like a cheetah. They hunt alone and in secret, so they are hard to detect. And if they are there, they don't show themselves much, do they? But of course they kill as well. You can never fully domesticate them, and if you leave them unchecked and aren't careful, you'll have to pay the price. Because process safety is less visible and less noticeable, it can quietly deteriorate in organizations over time without anyone realizing it. This may be due to the aging of equipment and facilities. Perhaps we rely too much on very experienced people for our processes and systems, and when those experienced people leave the organization or retire, we're left exposed. This can lead to a decline in the level of expertise and skills within the organization. It could be that we are not keeping up with our preventive maintenance and inspection work. Or perhaps we are allowing too many human factors to determine the risks. Since people can make mistakes, this can also leave us exposed. If left unmanaged, all these factors can worsen over time, and without realizing it, you may find yourself working in an environment where even smoke wouldn't want to be. That is why establishing a systematic approach to process safety is extremely important, and in my experience, since attention and focus can diminish over time, this issue must be managed from the top down and owned by senior leadership. In this way, you can create a shared vision for maintaining the identified barriers and safety-critical equipment in proper condition. We will talk a bit more about this in the next slides. How can a live barrier management system be established, and how can it help us? Essentially, it means engaging at all levels of your organization, constantly paying attention to weak signals in this area, and maintaining control over them. This will demonstrate the organization's ability to prevent major incidents or mitigate their impact. Given the magnitude of the risks, our goal is 100% assurance. Because this process is about ensuring safety and preventing incidents that can have such a significant impact on human life, communities, the environment, and finances. It has the potential that, in many cases, companies simply cannot survive after such incidents. They go bankrupt, and this shows that no one can afford to allow or take on a process safety incident. Since there is no insurance, we simply need to ensure that 100% assurance is in place. This brings me to my next question. How do we do this? How do we manage process safety at that level? In general, we need to manage three areas. Let's start with design integrity first. This means making sure that our systems and the process equipment that contain or control major accident risks are safe by design. That is, it is important to use the correct materials, apply the proper pressure ratings, and ensure that adequate protective systems are always present within the approved design window, both before commissioning and during operation, even in cases where you need to make modifications. This ensures that there are sufficient human and equipment barriers in place. Operational integrity ensures that we have the necessary control mechanisms in place to remain within the design principles of the installation, and that we can take appropriate action if these operational windows are exceeded. Here the main focus is on maintaining the integrity of human barriers. Technical integrity ensures that installations and protective devices are maintained in accordance with the performance standards agreed upon in the design. Here the focus is mainly on maintaining the integrity of equipment barriers. As we mentioned earlier, process safety is an area that requires the attention and support of the highest management in every organization. Therefore, the process safety leadership triangle stands at the center and connects all of these elements. Leadership promotes a process safety culture where the management of major accident risks is an integral part of work activities. Let me explain this to you using the model we call the BOTI concept. This model is based on Professor Vaillancourt's pendulum model with the A switch, and it provides a more detailed approach. First, we identify the hazards. That is, the factors that have the potential to cause harm and lead to disaster if we lose control over them. In the field of process safety, these are usually the materials and chemicals we work with or produce. Some of these can lead to process safety incidents or major accidents. These include natural gas, substances like propane or crude oil. There are many industries and causes related to how these major accident hazards or major accident hazards can be released. We call these threats. For example, corrosion, high pressure, high temperature, or vibration. In 9 out of 10 cases, the release of process safety risk, in simple terms, the loss of containment, results in a leak. We call this the top event. Once a leak occurs, many scenarios are possible. There could be a spill, a fire, or even an explosion. These outcomes can harm people, the environment, assets, and all stakeholders. The best approach is to prevent this entire scenario from happening in the first place. We can do this using preventive barriers located on the left side of the top event. These are also called control measures. If you cannot completely prevent the event, for example, a loss of containment, then we place mitigating barriers on the right side to reduce the severity of the consequences. These are also called recovery measures. This is just a simple example. In this case, we talked about external corrosion, but there can be many other causes as well. Excessive pressure, vibration, flange scratches, and many other threats can lead to various loss of containment scenarios, and naturally, a wide range of consequences can occur. What operating companies need to properly manage process safety risk is a system that can guarantee 100% that their barriers are in good condition. Additionally, this system should be able to directly show where and for what reason the organization is exposed to a reduced level of protection, for example, due to delayed inspections or simultaneous activities. We call this barrier management system the live barrier management system. That's what we call it. It serves as a system that shows the status of the barriers and supports keeping them strong and healthy. And now I want to focus your attention on this. The ACDABI report 544 divides all these barriers into three main categories. Technical barriers. These are physical systems and equipment designed to prevent hazardous events or reduce their impact. Examples include emergency shutoff valves, fire and gas detection systems, and emergency shutdown systems. Human barriers include measures taken by individuals to prevent or manage hazardous events. This includes following procedures, conducting inspections, and responding to alarms. Management system elements are management systems and processes that support the effective implementation of technical and human barriers. Examples include training programs, maintenance schedules, and safety management systems. For example, a threat could be corrosion occurring at the wellhead. The top event or main event could be the occurrence of a leak. If a leak occurs, the consequence could be a spill and even a major fire. Now we can take certain measures to prevent this from happening in the first place. For example, we can implement an inspection system or a wellhead management system, such as an integrity management system, to detect and eliminate corrosion in a timely manner. This, for instance, helps prevent damage to pipes or coatings. If, despite this, a leak occurs, there is a subsurface valve inside the well that can be closed immediately. If that also fails, then we can activate emergency response measures to minimize further impacts. The proper functioning and integrity of all these barriers are ensured through inspection systems, valve tests, and emergency preparedness training. As long as these are in place, we can say that our assets are safe and demonstrate this to stakeholders. The first way to show this is by using the 544 barrier groups on site. The ABB report divides the 544 hardware barriers into several groups. Each one represents a critical function to prevent hazardous incidents or mitigate their impact. By classifying and displaying the status of these groups, we can monitor and report them live and in real time. This in turn allows responsibility to be assigned to the relevant departments according to performance standards. Another way to demonstrate this is to project the overall impact of risks onto the plant's model or layout diagram. This shows where safety critical equipment is missing, in a weakened state, or where inspections are delayed. By combining this with other data, we can show where in the system weakened barriers, temporary overrides, and high-risk work permits overlap or are highlighted. The overall risk intensity map will demonstrate where the organization is exposed to high process safety risks, and this allows us to prevent them by prioritizing or rescheduling the work. We call this the live barrier model. So, to summarize, let's first activate the radar. We present this to management as major accident hazard risks. We do this by implementing a process that allows us to practically identify and assess them, or by ensuring its existence. After that, this can be used to create a shared perspective that shows what the company's major accident risks are and how they should be managed. Essentially, this step answers the question of which risks we need to manage within the framework of process safety management so that everyone can prioritize their responsibilities accordingly. Then we make sure that there is a process in place for the dynamic monitoring of process safety risks. There should be a live barrier model that can alert us in advance when barriers in certain areas begin to weaken so that we can take preventive measures long before any problem occurs. And of course, it is necessary to make this visible to all internal stakeholders. This also allows us to demonstrate the effectiveness of process safety to external organizations when necessary. Showing how we manage major event risks helps to enhance our reputation in the business world and maintain the license to operate required to continue our business. This is an example of how good work processes ensure that we do things correctly. But just as important is the fact that risk management ensures we do the right things. I hope this has helped clarify the topic of operationalizing process safety management for you. As a result, we will not only be able to say that our assets are safe and that we know it, but we will also be able to board a plane with peace of mind, trusting it to take us to our next destination. Thank you for your attention, and when you are ready to implement safety and sustainability with us in a different way, we are here to